Okay, great. Okay, today, Tuesday, May 12th, I was at 1975. Where was that? 2015. The EDIC meeting, we are not a quorum, so it's not going to be an official meeting, but we are here just to at least go over the agenda. There are 3 of us who are committee members here. And what I'm going to do is, the agenda has been sent out. I'm going to say for public, if there is anyone here for public speak and they want to address the group, I'd like to have it be, if you are addressing the group as to something that's on the agenda now, I'll have that happen when we get to that point in the agenda. If there is someone who is not, wants to address something that's not on the agenda, then you could go now, and you would like to.
Yes, I just wanted to tell the committee about, I think, a very interesting meeting that we had today. It was with George Durante from the Department of Housing and Economic Development. I think the way the city is more apt to know that department is that's kind of where our MassWorks grant came out of, the $7.2 million for our Mills project. We met first for an hour with some different business owners. One of them was David Boyle, and just going over, you know, where we're at. So he was basically looking, he wanted to come to this community, and he wanted to know he wanted to know basically what specific. Don't we just keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Wanted to know what specific, if any, problems people are running into for businesses, basically geared towards small businesses, what you know, what hurdles they're running into, or why they have their business here, and what would help. So a lot of good suggestions came out in the meeting, and you know, even on the state level, you know, what difficulties are you finding in maybe the permitting process in the state level. Then we went for a 2-hour walk to different targeted businesses to see what they had to say. Mo scheduled those, and so we started at the Chamber of Commerce and then went to the scheduled businesses. And I think, to make a long story short, I think it was pretty amazing that the common complaint was a very minor complaint. Each person said the same thing. They said parking, but we understand that, you know, the parking in Easthampton is much better than most communities. There's a parking issue in every community, but of course, you know, if we could have anything to improve our businesses, it would be parking. And then it came down to the same thing, the crosswalks, the downtown crosswalks. So out of everything that they could have said, they could not have been more complimentary to our, you know, all our city offices. They feel that we are very business friendly, very helpful, all our departments. So I think it was just, even the police, they mentioned the police, they mentioned the building office, planning office, the fire department, all the inspection offices, and, you know, and also obviously, you know, my offices. And it was unbelievable to hear that over and over again at each location. It probably was the most uplifting day I've had in a long time. Yeah. So the challenges they're facing, to them, they don't even think of them as challenges. And the reason they came here is because in their head they feel like there is no other place to be.
Great.
Yeah. So I thought you would be interested to hear positive news and very important news, and the other issues that, you know, they're working on the state level obviously are things that we're all aware of. You know, the gas moratorium, and, you know, different inspections on the state level. Okay. So that's all.
Thank you very much. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Did you want to add anything since you were part of it? Or?
Could I?
Please, yeah.
I just wanted to add that the target group was specifically chosen because of their diverse perspectives. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just, you know, sunshine and lollipops were going on.
Right, thank you. Right.
Wonderful, that's great to hear. Thank you. Okay. So no other public speak about something that's not on the agenda. Okay. Planning department report?
I was going to bring up the meeting, but that's covered.
Thanks.
Let's see. The Pleasant Street Mills was awarded. I don't know if that was discussed at the last meeting.
I'm not sure.
So the second phase of construction was awarded, and I'm not sure what the targeted start date is, but it's pretty soon.
Great. Okay.
Um,
And anything more to elaborate on? Is it going to be mixed use or?
So this is to finish the site work and the drainage improvements and the landscaping improvements, building a wall to increase the parking on the backside of the mills, lighting along the bike path from Ferry Street to Union Street.
Okay.
So when you said awarded, you mean the grant, the money?
The money was awarded a while ago. We the bid for the construction was awarded.
Okay, cool.
Great.
That's news.
Okay. Anything else? Cool, okay, thank you very much. Okay, the potentially, oh, yeah, you were going to present something about the developable land report and map.
Yeah, these maps. The data is a little bit old. It hasn't been updated with the current assessor's data from this year. There's a map showing the potentially developable land as based off of assessor data and knowledge from what people know, and we've been soliciting comments. It's identified by zone type, and then also showing the parcels that are assessed as not developable, or assessed with increased site constraints.
Okay.
And then the second map is the same map, but also showing residential zone areas.
Okay.
And the target would be the industrial and commercial zones, but while we're doing it, it's the residential zones were also shown.
Okay.
There's also a corresponding list of parcels, addresses, zone type, and how it's been assessed, whether or not it has buildings on it, and that can be updated somewhat easily with every year with the assessor's information. So it's,
Okay.
right now it's about the data is about a year old.
Do you have any plans or means of keeping it up to date or updating it?
It's a manual process to update it. So when we get the assessor's data, after it's been, the way the assessors do their work is throughout the year, as lots are sold and ownership changes, they have a working document which doesn't become finalized until the end of the calendar year. And then at that point in time, they release it and they update everything all at once. And so when we get those files, it's for everything from the year prior.
Our whole thing's
and we
like
usually get it in
45.
about March.
Can we, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time here. Thank you.
And we usually get those files from the company that works with the assessors in about March of the year. So, for instance, we just got the entire 2014 data set from the assessors in March. And this data is the 2013 data set.
Okay. So at some point we'll be able to update it. Is it soft copy online that we can look at?
Nothing's online right now. This is the hard copy, and we'll post the maps online, or as they get. It doesn't really make sense right now to put the 2013 data.
True. Okay. Well, we reached a milestone with this, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll probably take it off the agenda and let you ask us to put it back on if need be. Okay. What's next on our agenda? Thanks. Okay, here we are with the proposed zoning ordinance. Did everyone have a chance to look at the piece that Jessica sent out that was attached to my email last week? And do you, as being part of the planning department, do you have anything to add to that?
The planning board's meeting tonight to discuss it.
Okay.
That's all
But
I
you have
have
nothing to
that-
share with us, though?
I mean, you have the most up-to-date
Okay.
information on what's been proposed.
Okay. We obviously are not a quorum, so we can't make any recommendations to the board. They have been given the audio file so they can listen to our discussion and to see where we are. But I'm not able to go tonight because I've had a previous thing that was scheduled a while ago. Are any of you able to go tonight? Okay.
Talking about the planning board?
Yeah, okay. Well, great, at least the three of us will be there. Thank you, I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to be there. So for public speak, I imagine, how many people want to speak in regards? Two of you? Okay, or five?
Yeah, I got something to say.
Okay, so,
You want to go first, John?
so 5 minutes each,
Sure.
is that okay?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure, I'm going to sit there if it's okay. Just real quick.
okay.
I have one issue. I missed, they advertised the meeting for 6:30. I didn't get there at 6:30. The meeting started at 6. And here's what I can't buy. Neighborhood business was designed by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to build a village.
Okay.
Now, under 5.1, you can build a 10,000 square foot store in neighborhood business. But if you go down to the rules of 40R, depending on the size of the village, you can only put in a 750 square foot store with eggs and coffee and newspapers and stuff. The idea of a neighborhood village, which is up on Florence Road and also on South Main Street, wasn't for mixed use. You know, maybe you want to put a building with 4 businesses in it. But they seem to be trying to tie it in with highway business, and it's different zoning. That's the yellow zone as opposed to the red zone. Okay, am I right on that, David, or not?
Are you going to be able to tie this to the proposed zoning ordinance?
Right here, to this here?
No, what you're saying, are you going to be able to tie that into the zoning ordinance that we're talking about?
This is the zoning ordinance.
Right. I mean, your point, though.
My point is, okay,
I'm trying to see the correlation.
well, it says how it applies, and it says exemptions. Redevelopment of existing buildings are talking 50,000 square feet. Where in neighborhood business are you going to have 50,000 square feet? You don't have any 50,000 square feet now in highway business.
Okay.
I don't believe on Northampton Street.
Okay.
The mills are obviously bigger.
Okay.
And my other concern, I don't know if you folks agree or not, you know that Berry Plastic is leaving. Okay, they're moving out. They had at one point 250 jobs. They're down to 85. They're going to Deerfield on their way to Ohio or Indiana eventually, where they put $1 billion plant. I think the town should do everything they can possibly do to keep Berry Plastics from becoming another Mills. They need to have that industrial if they can keep it, and the only one that can market it industrial is Berry Plastics. Bill Cannon can't, the Taylors can't. Berry Plastics can push that into another company. They own 80 companies, different kinds of development. It would make more sense to me. Now, maybe if you don't agree, that's fine. But if it was all possible to keep Berry Plastic to bring jobs into town, because without jobs, there's no sense of building any stores, any development. And I also, again, getting back to the R35, we have some R15 zoning, but we have a different zoning because we're in the red zone, the sending and receiving. Now, they're also in the sending and receiving, but it's a different zone. They're trying to lump this all together, and I think it's, and all you have to put down is have all zoning with the R reflect to the 40R, and that takes care of it. They seem to be, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know they're being tricky. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
I've got a question.
Sure.
I just want to know what I'm looking at here, and this is because I haven't taken part so far. I'm new. But I just want to make sure that I know what I'm looking at. This is a proposal that's been made, and David, you made it originally?
Yeah, the original proposal, but at this point,
And it's been amended?
it's been amended a bunch. There have been a lot of,
Is that what the lines through the
Well,
text are?
but the draft you're looking at, it's been amended, David's 100% right, but the draft you're looking at is a combination of those amendments and Jessica's work as
Okay,
planned.
that's sort of what I
and
thought.
what you're looking at here, this is the definition with all the cross-out things. This is just the changes made to the definition, gross floor area. So, if that's what you're referring to up there.
Yeah, no, I just meant the whole document in general.
It's working.
Yeah, this is where it is now.
That's the most, oh, sorry, I
But,
just wanted.
yeah, but as we have these hearings and we discuss things, Salem Derby, the ordinance committee, is kind of taking the lead a little bit as like yay or nay, and then Jessica has been taking the notes, and she's kind of regurgitated back to us what we've been going through. That's what you're kind of seeing.
Okay. Dan?
Yeah, sure. So I had sent a letter to the board at the last meeting. I believe you read it and put it on the record. Just kind of detailing a little bit of sort of how this started and kind of how we got to where we are. And I won't go over that too much more. Just to say that originally, just because I know we do have some new members now, just for the benefit of that. Originally, this was one of the desires out of the master plan, one of the at least in the survey portion of the master plan, as well as elsewhere throughout the document, that there was some desire from residents to have slower retail growth, size limitation to our growth. And not to say we don't want growth, but the right kind of growth. And one of those threats that was sort of outlined there was the potential for like a big box. And that's what this proposal was made originally to address, were big box retail developments. And so originally myself and David Gardner proposed a draft. It wasn't to say that draft had to be set in stone. As it wasn't, we had a pretty good process thus far, working together with the planning board, the city council ordinance committee. We've been here a few times, as you know, working with all sides, and we seem to have gotten to a pretty good place, I think, in Jessica's most recent draft, that seems to address most concerns of everyone involved. And so, that's sort of where we are today. Just to address a couple of John's concerns, I'm not sure I can address all of them, but a couple of his concerns around, existing stores. Well, there is nothing obviously existing that we're aware of retail structures today over 50,000 square feet. In fact, why we use the 50,000 was that's slightly more than what the current Stop and Shop is permitted for. So I believe Stop and Shop is somewhere in the mid-40s, and this proposal would put the retail limitation at 50. So that was one of our original ideas, and of course the whole idea is not so much to affect existing development today, but to curb the threat from new development that could potentially come to Easthampton that would be over that limit. I think the Berry Plastics example, though, is something that John threw out there. I think that's the concern we would have with large spaces, is that they're very tough to repurpose. We found that in the mills. The mills have been very difficult to repurpose. We've been making some progress recently, but over the years it is tough. It is not easy to repurpose large buildings, especially big box stores, which are really single-purpose buildings. When you put a Home Depot or a Walmart or something like that, that really is only one use for that, and without someone coming in doing some serious work to redesign it and make it, chop it up or something to make it usable. So anyways, that was the sort of my intention behind bringing this proposal. And I also have here with me Tom Murphy from Cumberland Farms, and I know he'd like to address the board a little bit about some of the at least a portion of the proposal that helps benefit business, and also will help bring a new business to town, assuming this were to pass. So.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and Your Honor. My name is Tom Murphy. I actually represent First Hartford Development out of Hartford, Connecticut, who is the preferred developer for Cumberland Farms in this area. I have a law firm in Springfield and Chicopee, and my office is at Monarch Place, and I've been involved in real estate development for over 25 years for a variety of developers, including in this particular field, including F.L. Roberts, Pride, Eddie Huff, who has Belcher Oil, and most recently with Cumberland Farms. You're probably familiar with the Cumberland Farms that was we recently built in Westfield, close by. I think if you've seen it or had an opportunity to use it, you realize that it's a very attractive facility.
That's on Route 10, right? I'm sorry
It
for
is, it
Yeah,
is.
okay. I'm sorry for interrupting. How many
Sure.
square feet is that?
I think it's 4,700 square feet,
Okay.
just under 5,000.
Okay.
At least that's the prototype. So I'm here tonight because our development arm for First Hartford had identified some parcels here in town on Northampton Street and between Northampton and Florence Street that might be an appropriate location for a development. In packaging the two parcels, and then they came to see me and we realized, checking the zoning, that a convenience store was going to be a requirement of in highway business, 5 acres. Now, in the 25 years that I've been doing this in all the communities in the area, I've never encountered something as onerous as that obligation. And I've been working with Dan to try to, and I spoke at one of the planning meetings, I believe, back a few months ago. Was it planning?
The planning, yeah.
And asked for consideration for the reduction of that requirement from a 5 acre down to a lesser amount. And I'm here in asking you to support the revisions that have been made through the planning and through all of the input from the various parties that would, in this particular case, on the last page of your draft, would eliminate a convenience store market from the highway business district, so we'd be exempt from that 5 acre mandatory requirement. In fact, the parcels that we've assembled are, I believe, is just over 2 acres, so it's still a substantial size. We're in fact a lot more land than we normally need. We normally have a development of this nature in a 1 acre parcel, as was done recently in Westfield. 2 acre is something we can very much live with, but the fact that we're exempt from this 5 acre requirement is very helpful. So if in fact your committee, when you get a quorum together, is able to endorse this, I would applaud your efforts, and I think it's very good, not only for this community, but for small business, which is the intention of this committee, I believe. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Did you have anything you want to add about this?
Well, Mr. Murphy, I'm Fred M. Fedor.
I've heard of you, but I haven't met you.
Well,
It's a pleasure to meet you.
I'm one of the owners.
I understand that.
And back up the clock 20 years ago, when the rezoning was to come into play, 5 acre, myself, George Dion, Peter Borchowski, surrounding businesses existing, never thought it applied to us.
Well, your dad was one of the ones that put that in, though.
What's that, sir?
Your dad was one of the ones that
Oh,
put that
yeah.
in. Oh, yes, he did.
No, not my father.
Fair-
My father was passed, sir.
1996? No.
My father was passed.
He worked on that zoning.
My
I
father-
worked with him. He came to the
No, he
office.
wasn't. You're talking about my uncles, maybe.
No, not Charlie
My
Nitty,
father.
Freddie, yeah. But no, it was the thing of the,
Well, I'm
with the
not gonna get
relevant.
into it with you, because I know my dad,
Yeah.
that's water over the dam, but my father would never have done that. But anyway, long story short, is we all thought, well, I think we got a partial notification or a notification, et cetera, and I never gave it a second thought and it would apply to us. So I said, we're existing, we own the land, we got the house next door, we got A&B Auto, that's another, not ours, but some, Linnell's, and et cetera, and I says, I thought it was just new raw acreage. You know, I mean, I can understand Mr. Courtney on his behalf over there, because that was, they had an existing business as a Tasty Top and the farm. So I never gave it a second chance to, think about it until this proposal came up.
Right.
So what I'd like to see is, now, not just in Cumberland's case, but in everybody that owns the land that we are paying taxes on, and general business, we are GB,
Right on. HP.
okay? I just want to see it, something that everybody can develop it in a nice way and go forward, not have obstacles. And the way business is going today in this, maybe the world, everybody's downsizing. The big box is actually kind of dead in a sense, because I see it going to a smaller, you know, I still go to Big E's. I go to
Yeah,
Big Y.
yeah, Big E's,
Well, yeah, I get that. I know Mikey gave that to me a long time ago, but anyway. But, you know, I like the little stores, you know, and we gotta focus on that. And Cumbies, I thought, would be the perfect spot, perfect prospect for myself, because number one, it's a former gas station I had there. I didn't know it back in those days. When gasoline had real lead in the gasoline, that's what we got to deal with. I still sitting on some contamination that is pacified by the DEP that says it's, and I had recent studies done on it, and it said to me that there's no further action required, it's still contained. I disclosed everything. I don't know what else I could say. I wasn't born when the gas stations were built there. So I'm dealing with,
Well,
you know, the burial ground.
So I
I'm gonna
guess
try
you're
and
here
move back to us.
to
yeah,
support, to
But
support the
anyway,
amendment.
Okay.
like I say, that's my feelings on it, and,
Thank you.
and if we can do something to help everybody, not just myself, everybody in the locale to put their place up for sale and develop it and have open arms to a new project, let's try to make it work.
Okay. Thank you very much.
just a little tidbit, Cullen Farmers was in Easthampton once before, and hopefully we'll have a better experience. They had a fire, they left town. So hopefully, that was...
Before my time.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
Before
so
my
what we're
time,
gonna do
too.
now is we're gonna discuss this as a group, and we're trying to keep the discussion amongst, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
What is your first name?
Freddie Fedor.
Freddie?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, you know, as again, we can't do anything as a group, but as we've talked a lot about it before, I personally, I like what the planning board has come up with, what Jessica's come up with.
We're talking about this.
Yeah. And if it were up to me personally, I would go for it. So that's my opinion. But I welcome each of you to share. Yeah.
I just wanted to say to stay on topic, concerning the decreasing the lot sizes. Part of the reasoning behind that was to encourage smaller developments. So, and I think that's very important because, as Freddie pointed out, though it's just a perception that big boxes are gone, and we actually still have Greenfield fighting the battle there, and Holyoke. And so part of the model of like the big box super center stores has to do with being a warehouse facility for the smaller stores that they've now created, that more communities are more accepting of. So I just think that for and Easthampton is kind of a place where there is available labor and a big box located somewhere at the connection of Florence Road, Route 10, that whole area might not be so unenticing to future ideas. The ideas that a supercenter and a warehousing type facility that would service smaller stores around. This is just one of the big box models that I've been reading about, learning about some, that one supercenter for all these smaller models of stores that are kind of spin-offs from very familiar big boxes they need a supercenter within a 20-mile radius. So I don't know for certain, but I think that maybe one of the real strong motivations to keep fighting the fight in Greenfield for that has to do with proximity to, maybe Easthampton would therefore be targeted for one of the smaller stores. But keeping it under 50,000 feet would fit with that model as well. Also, I just wanted to, in the original proposal, I included excerpts from the master plan concerning survey results. I think, however, this is probably the most applicable section of that from the survey, and it had to do with kind of a nuanced approach to the opposition to big boxes. And it said big boxes that would compete with local businesses. So I believe that, and also very, very close to that is, however, paying attention to where residents in Easthampton can buy clothing in particular. That kept coming up, buying a pair of socks. Well, of course, this must have happened before Peebles was there, because let's say you had to go to Hadley, Holyoke, or Springfield or something like that. Of course, you can get them at Peebles, but I think that capping large retail development, and at 50,000 feet would be a large retail development for Easthampton, but keeping that at 50,000 feet would satisfy, I feel very strongly, the desire of Easthampton residents as expressed in the master plan survey.
David?
When this initially came out, I was not in favor of it, the initial draft. I am totally in favor of this draft. I'm happy with it. Tonight when I speak, I'm going to suggest one minor change that Dave and Dan know. It's very minor, it's a detail. But I'm going to ask that the Planning Board and Ordinance Committee basically be done with this and move it to City Council.
Good. Great. Okay. Clay or Mo, did you have any input or thoughts?
No, it seems as though this whole process has moved forward in a positive way, so.
Despite our inability to do our job.
Yeah, from what I've read and what I understand, it looks good to me. I guess I did have a couple of general questions, and probably this is for you. Is the intention of this proposal to keep big buildings out or big business out?
Well, both actually, and actually I think equally as much. Big boxes, and I know there's been, I think, using big box development and big box interchangeably has kind of clouded some things or confused the issue. A big box store is a big box. I mean, this is a box that's big, really big.
So it's really aesthetics.
No, not aesthetics. Not so much that. Well, only in the sense that if you have an abandoned big box building, then that becomes an aesthetics issue, I believe, because they just sit there and sit there and sit there.
It's also difficult to repurpose.
It's difficult to repurpose, and sometimes it's impossible to repurpose for a certain period of time because the builders of those facilities may not want to lease it out. They may want to maintain kind of a I find it curious because, in America where competition is supposed to be good for the consumer and everything, there's some anti-competitiveness involved in former occupants and developers of these spaces to not lease them out, not want them to do anything because it kind of locks up the area. It means that nobody else can kind of move in, especially in a place like Easthampton where you have limited land in the first place, limited opportunities. So that's a strategy even smaller facilities use. For instance, there was a building on Park Street that used to be a convenience store. My wife and I looked at it when we first moved here. We were interested in opening vegetables, making a convenience store right there. It's a good location. Couldn't do it. Deed was clouded. Southland Corporation, it used to be a 7-Eleven or something. Said you couldn't have you couldn't sell food. You couldn't do anything to compete with the ones built downtown here. So I mean, I find it strangely weird, that you can't do that you can actually cloud a title in that way. But so So that's the one thing, having a hulking building, and as Dan mentioned, we have, the mill buildings have been difficult to repurpose, and it's cost Easthampton, I think, a lot of energy and a lot of money through CPA funds, all kinds of planning, trying to figure out how to keep those things alive. And they're still not full. I mean, it's still a challenge. So it's a big space that's difficult to fill. Big box stores are just that. 50,000 square feet, they're not so difficult to reactivate and have new tenants move into. And smaller ones, 20,000 square feet and under, are much easier. I mean, to repurpose, have new tenants move in and actually set up shop. So it comes down to also the desire of Easthampton residents to in a way, protect downtown business. Now, a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter. It's a highway business. There's a big box out there. Who cares?
No, it does matter.
But, I mean, I'm looking at, like, Northampton being concerned about a casino somewhere way off. They're actively, engaged in conversation about how are we going to handle this, siphoning off of business to a casino that's, in Springfield or something. It's like, wow, we're going to lose business downtown from a casino that's, many miles away. And our highway business district isn't that far away from downtown. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but it's pretty close, really. So I just think, there's a bit of protectionism involved, and was a desire expressed in the master plan by residents of Easthampton. 3,300 households, which comprise 44% of a return on all of the households that were targeted, which my understanding is everybody. I mean, so.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said there, but I was just confused because I hear a lot of people talking about how this is going to take jobs away or business away from other businesses, and then on the other hand I hear all the talk about big boxes, and everybody likes to use Walmart as an example. But I also hear people say on the other side of the coin that it seems to be all right if it's a Trader Joe's. Everybody wants a Trader Joe's in town, apparently.
Well, not everyone. But
And I don't hear them talking about the loss of revenue with the other businesses if there's a Trader Joe's down the street, because those can be pretty big too.
Right.
Well, they're not very big, though, not in this area. In fact, they're smaller than Big E's.
Announced that they're going to go to a smaller store, so maybe we'll have a Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Maybe. For me, it's. I would rather have it be local ownership, and that I'm not going to go into it now because it doesn't really address what we're talking about. But that's more important to me than size. Is local ownership, and that's what I love about Big E's. And local ownership, or at least franchise. Like Manchester, it's a true value, but it's local. Carroll is local. So,
Mr. Chairman, I know you just to address just real quick, and it's not from a really opinion standpoint, just from a kind of a legal standpoint, is that just the way we craft this, we always have to be a little bit careful because of the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, that it's tough to craft an ordinance that says we don't want outside people coming in here. So we have to use, something that's not arbitrary, something that everyone can play by the same rules. So if Walmart wanted to come in and put in a smaller store, they can do that, but they have to play by the same rules as the locals, as the national chains. So while so if you're trying to, that's why we have to be very careful with how we craft something to use things that are generic standards, not things that could be looked at as arbitrary or that is looking just to keep out outsiders, because that would be, so just from a legal point on that, I hear what you're saying. It's just
I understand.
Yeah, that's why the draft has ended up sort of in the position it has, is that we have to set a standard that everyone can meet and can play by.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, so for those who aren't able to go tonight, thank you very much. And I think as far as we're concerned, we can't really do any more other than just keep talking about it. I think we're done with that.
Yeah, it just sounds a lot like all the other discussions that I heard on the recordings. And incidentally, I agreed a lot with what Tom Brown said in a lot of those recordings, and I wish he were here to remind me of some of the things that I really agreed with.
So the only other thing left is talking about the sign ordinance. And we haven't, kind of is a new thing for us. We haven't talked about it yet. But,
I prefer not to.
okay,
It's a joke.
that's fine.
It's a joke.
Actually, you know what, I think, I might suggest that, well, we have 20 minutes left. I feel a little uncomfortable that we don't know exactly what the ordinance is.
I don't either. I don't have any information.
Are you able to get a copy for us by our next meeting, so we can talk about it?
I would get what there is available. What my understanding is that the sign ordinance, city council took up the sign ordinance to specifically deal with a couple of small tweaks to the sign ordinance in regard to LED lighting of gas station signs,
Okay.
and a couple other small pieces. And so their intent was just to tweak a couple pieces of it, but through the discussions, the preliminary discussions at some of the public hearings, I think it was brought up that there are larger pieces of the sign ordinance that need to be recrafted. So I'm not really sure where the process is right now, but
Okay.
for the next meeting, I will have
Great.
what information is available.
If you're able to send it to us before the meeting, so we can brush up on it, that'd be great.
Yep.
Is that because the mobile station applied for, I'm sorry, I don't know
Yes,
more.
it is, exactly. Yeah.
Because those signs are up already.
Yeah, they're up
Well,
already.
this is, yeah, that's been settled, but it has spurred discussion to look at the sign ordinance.
And I don't know if many of you get the Hampshire Gazette, but a couple of weeks ago, there were some very strongly worded letters about the sign in front of the high school.
The high school.
Which since then has been turned off.
Has it really?
Yeah, at least at Northwood, so.
Northampton
Yeah.
High School?
Where you
Yeah.
see lights.
But,
Okay.
yeah, that had to do, Clay, and you would be really helpful in that discussion because I know that you provided a lot of the information on electronic message centers. Remember all that discussion around that? So there, in my view, what happened here was there was on the part of the building commissioner and a few other people, a little disconnect or confusion, and understandably, if you read the definitions of things, that like a static, confusing the idea of a static LED display for service stations with an electronic message center, which is only allowed in the MI district, right? So that's how the ordinance turned out. So this was for, well, that's on Union Street, that's downtown business. So I think, I mean,
So
for
in other
intent,
words, they
right?
found like a loophole and...
Not a loophole, no, they weren't looking
Well,
for anything, it was
I mean-
just,
I can speak about it properly because I was involved in the zoning. It was a zoning board of appeals, and the building inspector and FL Roberts on the highway business district. And the ordinance allows for any exception to the ordinance to be brought to the zoning board of appeals for a special permit. And the zoning board of appeals felt that what they were proposing was an illuminated sign that didn't meet the definitions of an electronic messaging center, and that's why, and as the applicant presented it and the board accepted those facts, it was not an electronic messaging center, so the board granted that permit. There were other members of the public involved who thought that it was an electronic messaging center and were upset that the zoning board of appeals granted the special permit. And so that's why the city council was taking it up again to look at that, whether or not it's an illuminated sign or whether or not it was a messaging center and how those definitions are crafted, and whether or not gas station pricing signs are a different category or a different use that are a lot of different types of consideration.
Okay.
and it had to do a little bit with the electronic message centers changing the message remotely. So, of course, an LED display, even though the numbers, once you put them on there, they stay there until you change it again. So the sign is changeable remotely. You see, you're sitting inside the gas station and you change the numbers. So there was a little crossover there in the description of them. And so I think the council took that up to straighten that out, just make it a little more clear.
Okay.
And we're going to be discussing that at some point?
Well, ideally,
Well, that's
the purpose of the EDIC is really to be, the city does not have an economic development person. And so this group is here to act as that. So what we would be doing is forming a suggestion. We would say to the suggestion, this is the way we feel it should go. Granted, of course, that predicated upon us having enough members here to be a quorum. So, I think we should still walk the walk and talk the talk as though we're not a quorum, but I still think we should do our job as best we can. And that, in my eyes, is one of them. I think we should be educated about it and be able to make assertions or suggestions.
See, I don't know what's going to become of it, but Jessica has indicated that the sign ordinance, as you well know, is a Pandora's box. Once you start looking at it, do we have enough discipline to look at one little thing? We don't. She sees inconsistencies, and she's thinking or considering the opportunity to fix those at the same time. And that's why if you see she's market, I don't want to talk about it because I'm afraid. I'm not so much afraid of a repeat of the last process, but people have strong opinions on some of these definitions. And as you saw with the Northampton case, with just the letters of the editor, and it was kind of comical with the punctuation letters.
Yeah.
But people have, for some reasons, it's even worse than not in my backyard when it comes to signs or message boards. People have strong feelings. So I hope he can just get a draft, maybe participate in it, and it's like a yay or nay.
Well, so get us as much information as you can. As much information as you can, and we'll try and study it, and we'll kind of police ourselves if we start to get off into left field.
We're in a new place.
Oh, yeah.
We've traveled distance.
From what I've heard in the recordings, you're good at
Perhaps we
shutting
come to a
things
new
down,
place and
Josh.
we
so-
can have that discussion.
But can I say,
I
I know that Tom asked the question at our last meeting, well, why would we do that? What does signs have to do with economic development? I just wanted to point out, on the EDIC's website, on the official city website, under committees, boards and committees, the EDIC, it listed as one of the things the EDIC took up and one of the accomplishments crafting the sign ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
So it's totally,
Well,
we own it in a
Signage
way.
has a direct, as you know, Clay, has a
I
direct
don't know
impact on
if sometimes you
economic
sell
development.
things and you don't get them back.
Well, I'm just saying that to me, it's not too many years ago the EDIC saw the sign issue as being something that was in their domain,
Yeah.
and I think it still
think
squarely
should,
is.
I still think it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has a huge amount to do with a business's ability to make money.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And
Well, no, I
taxes.
mean, it really does, because otherwise you wouldn't need signs.
You wouldn't spend the money on it.
Right.
It can be quite expensive.
Well, so that'll be on our next docket. I'm going to say, unless anyone else has anything else, I'll give you 12 minutes back.
Just one quick comment. At that meeting today, Jessica mentioned, because Will Bundy was there as well, and Jim Whitmore, and he owns 2 mills, that she'd like to see the EDIC at some point, I don't know, do either an event or a tour of some of the businesses, and I'm just saying she reiterated it,
I would love that.
and I'm just passing that on, and
Yeah.
we can get into it next time, whatever.
Definitely.
I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So you've thanked us, those of us here that
Sorry about that.
are going to go to the meeting tonight. So I was just going to sit in the audience. We're not going to be, are we being called upon?
You're
to-
not being called upon, but if you have an opinion, I encourage you to get up and say something. But under the understanding that you're just speaking as Clay Crow, not as, you can say you're a member of the EDIC, but you
No, I
can't.
haven't.
Okay.
That's accurate.
So, yeah. And I apologize for thanking you in error for the, for some
He
reason
was
I had
here
it.
in spirit, Clay.
Well, if you were here, you would
I've
have
certainly done it a good number of times, and I feel
I'm sure
like
you
I've
have.
put my time in, so you're welcome.
Thank you for doing that Friday.
That was no problem. That was an easy way out of a few things, that's fine.
Josh, on the agenda, you left it on there about a video discussion.
Yeah,
was
and I
that just-
realized I shouldn't have had that on there, I don't
Okay,
think.
I didn't.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that was just my doing things too quickly and not taking it off. So that's coming off, the developable land map is coming off. Yeah, sure.
So, to continue that a little bit, is the item up for discussion at the planning board, what we've been talking about here today?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, I think, that's the
I
main part.
think Dan will mention it, I don't think you have to worry.
Yeah,
I'm sure that Dan's gonna bring it up, what happened today. So
yeah, I'm sure.
that'll be your segue if you want.
And
You'll
thank you.
have plenty of opportunity to.
Thank you for speaking. Okay, if anyone just,
Well,
yeah.
one more thing. At the last meeting, I don't know if anybody here remembers, Tom said, what new businesses have come to Easthampton? Name just a couple. Yeah, so,
Well,
and we were kind of like sitting here going, well, you know, it's hard to think of these things. I just, within 20 minutes of just going down Union, Cottage Street, and other, I came up with more than 24.
Did he say
newer
East
businesses.
Hampton? I thought he was talking about the Northampton corridor.
No, he
I thought he was
talked about-
referring to highway business.
Yeah.
That's what I thought he was referring to.
Well, highway business, there's still Flurry Power. That's new.
I would have
No,
said
that were
Captain
already,
Jack's.
he said that was, they were already in town or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
He was talking
I thought he
about
was referring to a new, like, a new business building a new building. We
Okay,
have
well, see, that
constant,
would
we
be-
have constant churn all the time. There's,
Right,
you know,
right.
It doesn't stop.
Okay, well, that
Yeah.
narrows the field considerably.
Yeah.
But well, you can ask him next time.
But we do have a lot of activity, people coming and going, businesses that are, I mean, they're,
Yeah.
you know, very active that way, I think.
Oh, just a quick thing before we leave. I realize our next meeting is scheduled after Cultural Chaos. And for those of you who were not at Cultural Chaos last year, it's a fun time. And it's going to be killer this year.
Was
It's
anybody
expanding.
not there, really?
Well, I won't be there this year, you know, because I'm out of town.
You weren't here yet.
I wasn't there, Clay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
If it's,
Well, they didn't have,
Tell them.
it should be good because if the boardwalk's done and it's gonna be bigger.
Well, it's my birthday that weekend, so I feel like it's a big old birthday party
There
for
you
mom.
go.
For you.
yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And June 16th is our next meeting. And in the meantime, I will send out agenda, and you can send us anything you have on sign ordinance, ordinary. Sorry. Thank you all very much.